Hello there, I'm Lyndon Thorpe and welcome to Embodiment Q&A. We're here every Friday at this time, 8 a.m. GMT. So please, if you'd like to join us, you're very welcome to join us in the studio or spectate. And if you just drop me or my assistant Natasha a line, we'll put for you in a DM or however you want it. Then you can sign up. Yeah. Okay, so today, as you saw from the opening, we're continuing on with our competition collaboration theme. And so I have created, well, not created, but I've adapted a Japanese equal voice discussion format. Because we're finding that there's a lot of passion flying around in these sessions, and it's very difficult to stay on the topic when people get heated. The pure facts from the embodiment perspective are that if you are constantly interrupting in a meeting or a discussion, you feel unsafe. That's the bodily implication. And so, yes, I was detecting a lot of safety among my two lovely guests for a couple of weeks now. And I decided we should be more systematic about this, and also to give you, the audience, something to take away, something concrete to take away from these sessions. So I'm going to be explaining the ENZA protocol first in a video, as usual, to be inclusive of everybody. We're going to follow that format and have a very orderly discussion with no interrupting, and you'll get lots of clear points, hopefully, from this, which I will summarize at the end. Okay, now, unfortunately, I should warn you ahead of time, our second guest, rather, Dr. Muiba Jamusi cannot attend today, I'm afraid. She's been unavoidably detained. So sorry about that. We're not going to be able to have the authentic proof that this protocol works, because there'll only be myself and Ebby Sheila. So anyway, never mind. There we are. Let's go ahead, because I think this is the format we should use going forward. So yes, our topic once again is collaboration. And we started off 2 weeks ago asking the question, are we competitive or collaborative by nature? Are human beings competitive or collaborative by nature? And we've had so many different ideas among the three of us for the past 2 weeks that we decided to go one more week focusing on this before we let it go, and try to institute this ENZA protocol, which is a very tried and tested protocol here in the east of the world, to make sure people really get their turns. Of course, it's difficult to implement in the West, because we're dealing with individuals who have strong views and want to express them. In the East, there is a tradition of staying silent and only speaking when you're spoken to, really. So it's very different culturally. But I think I've adapted it to suit anybody, hopefully. And so let's get started. Let's first of all look at the video. I'll share my screen with you. so that we can go ahead and get some ideas about the topic in a visual format. Okay, here we go. Okay, so there we are. We've laid the ground for you, and I'm really sorry we can't give you a proper demonstration, which I had planned, but then there was a cancellation at the last moment. So there we are. We'll have a chance to do that in the future, I'm sure. Okay, so let me bring Ebishila onto the stage, and I'll just do a little more talking and then we'll start the protocol. Okay, here we go. Hi, how are you doing?
I'm good, thanks. Thank you for today, and thank you everybody who's watching live.
Thank you. Yes, you beat to it. I want to welcome LinkedIn members and YouTubers to this session. We're always streaming live to those two channels with all the lives I do. So there we are. Great. So Ebishila, let me just talk a little bit more about this because it's maybe quite new to you. But yeah, basically, the structure that to introduce going forward, as you know, so that we really get the best from these sessions for not just for us, but for the audience. So they've got some takeaways. And really, it's a very simple container. I a collaboration container, and I've been using this for years, really, in my work with students and so on. But basically, it's designed to do three things. The first one is to keep everyone safe in their nervous system. And the second one is to stop interruption and derailment, which happens, I'm afraid. And the third one is to end with a clear, actionable takeaway. So those are the three main pillars of this kind of ENSA. As I mentioned before, it's quite easy to implement this here in Japan and in the east of the world generally, because people don't speak unless they're spoken to here. So it's very difficult to get them to spontaneously speak. It's just not in the culture mostly. But of course, with and quite forceful about wanting their voice to be heard and so on, it's more difficult to implement. But I did use it when I was in London with foreign students, a group of international students. It worked very well. So really, ENSA isn't about being nice. No, it's really about being regulated, honest, and effective from the heart, not from the head, and not from competition, because if we are competitive in a discussion like this, then of course it's going to create a negative wave across those members of the group who are maybe not feeling forceful, not feeling confident. And so when we think it's better to leave the competition aside and let everybody just work together. So, in other words, one voice at a time, no interrupting. And if anyone feels activated, we can pause and come back to the breath before we continue. So, yeah, we'll see how this works when we've got more members. With a big group, I've used it with 30 students, so it can work very well. So first of all then, ENSA, what does it stand for? As you saw in the video, E stands for embody in my book. This is Japanese, so it doesn't actually stand for body in Japanese, but in my book it does. So we take a breath as we talk together. We enjoy breathing and we feel our feet on the ground and on the planet, and we place our attention in the heart. It really, collaborative discussion really comes from the heart. So yeah, it's good to ask, what do I feel right now in my body? And what do I want to project or to prove maybe? Or what would it look like to lead from the heart rather than from the head. And I think this is a realization of whether we are in our limited mind or in our unlimited mind, where we're not desperate to have our voice heard. And I think if the world was organized in this way, then everybody would be heard eventually, but we'd all remain very calm, very safe. So it's really good. N is for notice. That's easy, isn't it? E is for embody, N is for notice. And this is where you notice your nervous system. Is your body tightening because somebody else's opinion is upsetting you? Or is your search for your view upsetting you? If we work from the limited mind, that will happen. That will happen because everything in the limited mind is finite. It disappears very easily. As you know, you might have a strong point and then suddenly it's gone. I hear people say this all the time. Oh, I was just going to say something, it's disappeared. Well, that's the limited mind. But if you're working from the body, then the body does not fail to remember. And what you say is more authentic. It's really authentic rather than parroted views from other people or anything like that. It's more unique and authentic. And yes, you may notice what you need to remain open. I think a real ENSA discussion is when everybody feels really open. Things are not explicit, not so explicit. We are much more relaxed and therefore we're less defensive. So in collaborative discussions, what we exchange tends to be much more heartfelt and also much more original, which is what I'm really interested in, rather than conditioning or parroted views. ENSA, the Z, zero need to win. So this is where we eliminate the competition. And maybe there are two questions here. You have to think about the whole. What is the whole, not just my position that I'm asserting. And you have to also think about the simplest truth that we can agree on. And as humans, a lovely moment when two people really agree on something and are very satisfied. And of course, for an audience or eavesdroppers, this means clarification. Things are clarified. And then finally, align, of course, and also act together, hopefully. Align and act. So we can turn our insight into action. Insight is great, but if we don't convert it into some kind of action, then it's in a way pointless. And so, yes, it's important to finish every session with what we agree on, the next action maybe, when it's going to happen, if there's going to be an action, and how we can check that it's worked. One observable. Yes, let's get started, first of all, with the video. Ebby, what would you like to talk about the video for a little while? How did it make you feel?
Yeah, I think it's a big learning, this ENSA thing, and it's helped me recognize what ENSA is and what's going on within my nervous system in terms of ENSA, which I knew a bit of it, but this has really brought it to the forefront, so the noticing of the nervous system, and then the competition. I never saw that as competition, because when you're in a debate and you're not and you have the need to win, that is competition.
Mm.
And like I said, in the West, like you said, in the West, because it's so normal, we don't actually attribute it to competition, but it is competition, you know. And in the East, I don't know if that's actually genuine, because I know, like in Africa, parts of Africa that I'm from, there is the so you keep quiet. So if you're a child, you keep quiet. Maybe if you're a woman, you also keep quiet. When certain people are talking or senior people are talking. So
Mm.
it's that, because I know with some people here in the West, they appear to be listening, but they're not. They just kind of think, well, I don't really want to get into that debate, so I'm just going to shut down. And that's not listening, is it? So they
Mm.
appear to be quiet and appear to be agreeing, but they're not. So, but what Enza is like actually being genuinely listening to your body and how your body is reacting. So if your body is reacting negatively, you're not in Enza. Is that what I mean?
Mm.
Clarify.
Mm.
You're not in
Yeah.
Enza, are you? So you need your body to, because not only does it have an external effect, but it also has an internal effect on the body. So your body, you're breathing shallowly, and your heart rate is racing, and your jaw is clenched. You're probably having sweaty palms. Your heart is probably racing. So yeah, I
Yeah.
think noticing that, because that doesn't help us. So I think this for me, this last 3 weeks and leading up to today so far, and I hope for the audience is done the same. Has There's already a takeaway, so we're not at the end, but I already have such a great takeaway from this fact about feeling safe. So when you're feeling safe, you're not in the competition. So that's the thing, isn't it?
Mm.
And then you stop
Mm.
interrupting, which is one of my opportunities for growth, to stop interrupting. So yeah, so remember to take that deep breath,
Yeah.
so that
Yeah.
reacting. So yeah, I'm really looking forward to this conversation, and I hope we're able to get something out so that the audience can also learn, because I know I'm learning a lot, and I'm really grateful. Yeah.
Wonderful. Thanks, Abby. That's always so supportive. Thank you for doing that. But yes, let me just ask you about debate, because, of course, West, of course, that's a very common kind of meeting, if you like. But in the East, we don't really have many debates. And if people do debate, then they're very controlled. And if they want to debate seriously, then they go and learn debating skills and join. Tokyo University has a debate society. And it's so funny because the students are just imitating Westerners, really. It's very funny. But yeah, basically, we are in the East. Yeah, that's why I'm here, really, because we want to collaborate. We rarely disagree, really. People rarely disagree, and some say that's suppression, but I believe it's something different. I believe it's a fundamental desire for harmony, which is a big thing here, of course, harmony, and also, as you say, for learning. So if we want to learn, of course, I would advocate whole body listening. So when you're in a discussion, then if you are really aware, then your whole body will be alert. And you mentioned people who appear to be listening, but they're really, yes, of course. But if you're in an embodied state, then your whole body's alert and aware. And that state protects you from feeling unsafe, from any serious lack of confidence or lack of doubt. And really, that's when the mind is, if you like, leaking into the unlimited mind, and it causes us to really panic or feel unsafe and so on. But really, once the body is grounded and once the breath is working, there is no reason for us to feel unsafe, especially in today's world. We have every comfort and every protection in many, many ways, unlike who live in the wild. So, yeah, I think there's a great opportunity to learn by just absorbing everything that people are saying. And it may be, this is where we come to the action part, it may be that the people in the discussion agree to make another meeting, or it may be that they agree to write their thoughts down and share them, or something like that. So there are many other ways that we can show our thoughts. And I'm always trying to get people involved in discussions on LinkedIn, but it's rather difficult to get sustained discussions going on. People are so busy, I think. So, yes, maybe you as a school girl or a college girl were debating skills. Were you?
What was I? What was the question? Was I in debating?
Were you taught debating skills at school or at college?
Yeah, we had debating societies, but now something hits me about debating, the way we debate in the West. I say, as a theory, debate is great, but I think what we lack, and maybe it's part of the limited mind. I think it's the ego. So we go into debates thinking, so you have a position, right, in a debate, but you should also have the position to have an open mind. And I think that's where the skill is lacking, to have the open mind. So we want to win. Again, it's a competition. We want to win the debate, so we stick to the point. And you find that even when you're debating out of societies, you're sticking to your point rather than having an open mind, which is what Enza is all about. So listen, because your body knows, and if you really listen, sometimes somebody that's saying something that's alien to you, you can see the other person's point of view and maybe change your perspective. But we don't. So we call it debate, but I don't really know if it's debate, because we're never willing to change our perspectives. And I think that's a thing in the West, and I don't know if it's the same in the East. But that's what I'm finding from the video today and from what you've said so far. It's suddenly come to me that it is debates might be what I would probably call maybe unhealthy competition. Because it can be healthy, I think, if we have an open mind, but I think it's unhealthy because we stick to our points, and sometimes we get really emotional about our point of view, because we talk about rights. But the thing that we fail to understand is that when you fight for your rights, a lot of time you're taking away from somebody else's rights. A lot of times, I'm not saying always, but a lot of times, and we don't see that. We just see our own perspective, and so being able to listen and understand, like for instance, like in Africa is a continent that's struggling, and a lot of people in the West think they can help. So they go in and they help, but they go in with a perspective of their own worldview. So in effect, what they're doing is they're creating more suffering because they don't understand the culture, and they don't understand the story of those people, and they think it's like you're trying to impose your own worldview on another. So you're saying you're fighting for rights, but you're actually taking away somebody else's rights. And I think understanding, so the body, so listen to your body, understanding when you're going in and you're doing and you're creating things, but that's competition. And that's why, I mean, after last week, like I was telling you, I had 4 quadrants for competition versus collaboration. So there's healthy competition, unhealthy competition, healthy collaboration, unhealthy collaboration. And we have to be careful, because just because somebody is not listening, I mean, I don't live in Japan, so I don't know how it is. But just because somebody is quiet doesn't mean they're actually doing the Enza. You know, because they might be thinking, okay, I'm just going to be quiet because I'm going to be respectful. But I still stand in my position. And that's not what Enza is about. Enza is about having an open mind and having a win-win situation. And,
Yes,
and this is
I
great learning,
agree.
because and what I'm doing, and what I've started doing since from last week and going forward, is when I'm in that situation of, I think at the beginning of the video it had something about like the nervous system and the stress that you feel when you're not in the before. And I think the taking of the deep breaths and just going within helps you to get centered, and then
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely. So, you know, we can imagine that if people were more embodied, the kinds of discussions they would have would be so different. And yeah, I bring here my Buddhist background. As you know, I'm a lifelong Buddhist, and I think some of the most extraordinary and beautiful discussions I've had have been in this vein with other Buddhists. There's no conflict. There's no need to prove oneself. There's no need for any of that, because we are energy manifest as flesh, and we are unique energy, as you know. So yes, rather than dicing with your opinions, which come from here, which you've mentioned in the past before, you know, that we have opinions, but embodiment isn't really opinions. It's about your anchoring in your assets, your resources. You know, once we're anchored, then there is no disharmony. There is only, wow, that's a wonderful view. And as you mentioned, we're just exchanging worldviews, really. At the end of the day, what is there to argue about? And, you know, the most pure discussions I've been involved in, I have usually been with Buddhist priests or Buddhist people in general, and it's very smooth. You know, it's all amalgamated, and we feel human, and we feel supported, and we feel safe. So yeah, I think this ideal is another of my ideals, but if we could experience this kind of equal voice discussion where everybody has a chance to make themselves heard, if they have a strong point and there's no moment for that, then they have another chance in writing or in another meeting following up, and you know, the coordinator will say, okay, let's talk about that next time or whatever. So there's no urgency, there's no desperation if we're truly embodied. I really feel that. So yes, I'd like to just talk for a little while about collaboration, and then Ebby, you talk about it, okay? And let's just in a very embodied state. We're breathing, we're grounded, we are comfortable. Hopefully, we are not desperate in any way. We're safe in our own skin, you know? So let me just talk about collaboration from my point of view for a little while. I think collaboration is a very natural thing for most of us to do, but of course there are many exceptions. And in my experience, the people who don't collaborate, the kind of lone wolves, you know, who don't want to dilute their ideas by collaborating or working together, they either take one direction and become complete geniuses that, dominate the world. We say because many of the great creators and inventors were lone wolves, or they are in some way socially withdrawn. Okay. For whatever reason, it might be mental health problems, it might be sadness, whatever it is. So I think that we naturally collaborate, but there are conditions that allow us not to enter into it for various reasons. But I would especially say, and speaking as someone who has had a very kind of, can I say, very pure life, really, with my Buddhist pathway and various other things, very untainted in many ways, then I can say from my heart that in the business sector, when I interact with someone in a collaboration of some kind, it's absolutely a sublime feeling for me. It makes me immediately realize that whatever we do in life for certain people is all about people. You may be in a business, you may have your goals, you might have your, budget or whatever, all of the mechanics of being in business. But for me, the greatest resource of all is people. And when I start to interact with someone and we really concur and we really enjoy that, there's nothing like it for me. It's the most superb feeling. And I really do feel the possibility of the tapestry of all life becoming a reality. I've mentioned this before. Do you remember? So that we're all, every human being, every species is a stitch in this massive tapestry of all life. But some of the stuff are missing, some are broken, some are faded, some are vibrant but too big, this kind of thing. When we collaborate, I really feel that the global community has a real future of coming together and of truly supporting each other. So the internet needs much more heart energy, which is what my main mission really is, to bring people out of their limited mind into their heart energy. And this is what Enza is all about. It's all about an open heart. So if you've got any questions about that, Ebby, please go ahead.
Okay, so I'll just give my own perspective. So okay. I love your mission. I really love the mission because I think, and I agree about collaboration. I think every human being desires collaboration, right? But at the same time, we have the the reptilian brain, the back of the brain, or the, I don't know what you want to call it. But at the same time, we have a protective shield that we need, which is a natural shield. Hence the competition. That's why competition is necessary, or is in us, because we have to protect ourselves. So when we don't feel safe, we jump into that. And he said about lone wolves. So yeah, some of them might be mental health, but why do they become lone wolves? Because of experience. Because the experience, the people want to collaborate, but when they feel threatened, so they think this is my thing, right? And you say, no, it's not your thing because I got that. So they want to protect. So the fear comes in. So collaboration ceases to happen because they think that's my thing and I need to protect my thing. So again, if we're, like you said, if we're embodied and we understand that nothing is ours because nothing is, you think you've created something. Like I went to see Michael Jackson in the theater a few days ago, which I really enjoyed. Ooh. And I remember he woke up one night about 5 o'clock. This is a story that he woke up about 5 o'clock one morning, and he called his manager and said, "We need to do our show this way." And the manager said to him, "Oh, Michael, it's only 5 o'clock. Why are you using?" And he said, If we don't do it, Prince is going to do it. So everything is there for everybody. And if you don't discover it, for instance, somebody else will discover it because it's there in nature to be discovered. And maybe you were the lucky person. So it's not yours. It's actually not your discovery. You are the lucky person to discover it. And if you didn't do it, somebody else will do it, because that's the way the universe works. So but because we are so protective, and my is a very dangerous word. You know, my children, for instance, it can be quite dangerous because you become possessive of that child, or my husband, so you become possessive. But if you're really embodied, you realize that everybody is their own free person, and everybody has the right to do whatever they want to do. Hopefully that they're doing good things as opposed to bad things, but you have control of another person. And if you truly embodied, and this is where self-worth comes into play, and this is something that I'm really interested in, and I've written a book and I talk about it a lot, and I mean to talk more about it, because it's all about self-worth, and self-worth is being embodied. So understanding what's going on in you. But like you said with the Buddhists, you might disagree, you have conversations, but you kind of come to a middle ground because you're embodied, because of your training. You're embodied. So you're not in competition, because bad competition only happens when there's lack of safety. So if people don't feel safe, they feel threatened, something's been taken away from them, their environment is becoming hazardous. It's a natural thing to protect yourself and protect people around you that you love. So collaboration, competition, they're both natural, and the desire, people want to collaborate, especially with people they agree with. So when you don't agree with somebody, that's again, Enza, I think, is very helpful. Take the deep breaths, be grounded. Everybody has to be doing it.
Good. Lovely.
The other person is not doing it. How does it work? Because at the end of the day, the other person is going to start stepping on you because you're not responding. So you end up in unhealthy collaboration, or you end up reacting, unless you come away from the situation. So I don't know what is the solution if one person is not playing ball.
Well, this is a vast topic, but I mean, I don't think we can really talk about solutions at all. But I think of what you're saying, and I understand what you're saying. Of course, we have to be competitive, and if we weren't, we wouldn't survive, probably. But competition really become a head thing. Unless you live close to the land, unless you're like that, then everything is in the head. And I find this a lot when I'm talking to people who are new to embodiment. I talked to someone today in the Philippines, and she asked me what I did, and I tried to express it very simply, and I used my usual terminology, that this is great, but we want to come out of that to live and breathe and lengthen our spine and all this. And she looked at me as if I was completely mad. And she said to me, what do you mean? So clearly I then explained again, and she just didn't get it at all. So trapped in the limited mind, you see. A young person, very young, their early 20s, who's a marketer and got really into the business world, but that's her. She's kind of fixed herself on that marketing line or pathway, and she's just was not listening to me at all. So I think it's there's no real solution, but I do know that we have to make some changes in how we behave on the internet think, especially on the internet. If we're going to be ethically visible and all of these things, authentic and so on, then I can see a need for really edifying conversations between people. Really, there's no place for opinions in a way. In my spiritual perspective, in my spiritual perspective, sorry, difficult to say. You mentioned ego earlier. Yeah. If we let the ego dominate, then we start to formulate very strong ideas and we stick to them. As you say, we get really fixed on them. And that is a sign of burnout, to be frank. In quite a few clients I've worked with, you know, people who get really fixed on a particular viewpoint, they're not really embodied. And they're stock still, you know. The most important idea here, I think, the most important notion with Enza and with the way we interact is that there is nothing still about human behavior. We're constantly moving. The body is constantly moving outside, if not outside. The thoughts are constantly moving. So the idea that we hold on with white knuckles to a certain concept or thought or word or even a time, you know, getting to an appointment exactly on time, if we hold on to those things, then they become really paralysis, you know, there. So I think Enza and the kind of discussion you and I are having now is basically going to give people a kind of flexibility and a freedom that they've never known before. I mean, if you have a strong point and you can't get, you're really burning to, you know, express that point, then I'm sure that point will last and deepen until you connect to that person or those people in your discussion group. There's this incredible urgency that people have, which is generated by the limited mind. Deadlines, analyses, you know, rules, regulations, it's all happening here. The unlimited mind, nothing. There are no limitations. So, you know, however a conversation goes, as long as it's from the heart, as long as it's not hurtful or violent. And of course, one of the things I've worked on in the past a lot is non-violent communication. Gandhi was the first person to bring this into the light through his peace movement. And now it's still a very strong movement that we can use words in very violent ways if we're not, you know, careful, if we're not really careful about words. And as you and I have mentioned before, you can say things that you regret. And once they're out, too late. Somebody somewhere will always remember those words. A little story, I was talking the other day and we were talking generally and she suddenly said, oh, yeah, no, I can't do that. So I paused and I said, oh, really? Okay. I don't do that, she says. Again, repeating. Each time she says those words, she's knocking the pegs into that notion that she can't do it. So she's in fact sabotaging herself by repeating it and repeating it and refusing. So I think if we refuse something, we're definitely in the limited mind. The heart doesn't refuse. The heart is compassionate. And so if somebody says something that doesn't quite concur with what you feel or think, then you're compassionate and you say, wow, that's a lovely view. And blah, blah, blah. You maybe add something to enhance it. That's compassion. And if we are saying to ourselves, no, I don't do that. No, I can't do that. We're not being self-compassionate. As we talked about self-compassion a few weeks ago, you know, self-compassion is staying with yourself, no matter what. Even if you're in pain, even if you are, you know, disagreeing with yourself, or even if your opinions have changed and you're not willing to really accept that and be honest about it, whatever's going on for you, then it's not fluid. You're not fluent. You're not flexible. And I think human beings have to, above all, be flexible. Yeah. So, yes, words can be very damaging. As you know, we can lock ourselves up with them. And of course, once they're said, oh, and this person, by the way, said to me, I said, did somebody say that phrase to you? And she went rather quiet and she started to try and remember. And suddenly she remembered that it was her mother who had said that to her. You can't do that. Don't try. So she is now using that expression on herself and limiting herself because it was said to her. And this is the kind of web that the words in our lives really weave around us, so that we're completely constricted and, you know, bound up by those words. So I released her of those words, and she really became somebody quite different. She moved into a phase I'd never noticed before. Once she was free of that very limiting sentence. So that's the other thing to consider, I think, in Enza, that whatever we say should come from the heart. It won't offend anybody if it comes from the heart. If it comes from the head, then you may get lots of reactions, you may get lots of animosity or aggression seen in the past couple of weeks. But if you speak from the heart, you're feeling safe. Nobody is questioning your view. Nobody is questioning your existence. And so, yes, I feel it's very important to speak from the heart. What do you think? Any questions for me or any reactions to that?
Yeah, I mean, you were talking about words, and you also said no solution. I think I disagree that there are no solutions. The solutions is listening to your body, and I think, yeah, you mentioned some certain things about why people interrupt or disagree. And I think one of the reasons that you failed to say is that sometimes we think we can help others, right? And yeah, maybe I'm not saying we cannot help others, but so, like, for instance, I would speak up if I felt that somebody was saying something that was not right, because I think you're delivering a message that 10 days time, that person, people that picked up that message will not hear from my perspective, the other view of the thing. So I would speak up for that. But I think that's, again, the limited mind, because I'm thinking that my words, and I think that's what happens a lot, at least in the West, we think that our words and what we say in a debate or in an opinion-based thing like on TV will help somebody. But really, somebody's, I can only help myself, you know.
Absolutely. Well,
I can only help myself. And I think realizing that you can't really help somebody. So there's no point trying to put that in, you know. When they're ready, they will make the right decision for themselves. So I think that's also part of the ego. And then you talked about violent words. Again, violent words, yeah, they affect us. But to think that our violent words affect somebody else, they will only affect somebody else if that person has a lack of self-worth. So again, it's down to the individual to build their self-worth, which is something that we're not on. The building of self-worth is about being embodied in yourself. Because even if the words are really only violent against yourself, you speaking it out is violent against you. You're actually being violent against you. And if somebody else is taking it on, they've got a job to do on themselves, because they shouldn't be taking on somebody else's words. You know, apart from somebody punching you in the face, you know, like there's a saying in England, you know, sticks and stones can, you know, the sticks and stones thing, you know. Words can, and it's true, because if you know who you are, words can never hurt you, because it's that words do hurt us because we believe it can hurt us, and we believe that thing about ourselves, you know. But like you said, you did work on that individual, and she started to believe in herself. And it is difficult, because as a child, if you've been told something, it kind of goes into your head and you kind of start to believe it. But then as you become an adult, you have to start working on getting that out, because is that really true? Am I really that? That's like they say, if you say you can, you can. If you say you can't, then you can't. And that is so true. And that's the thing that you have to believe, because you can't help. We don't know why we're here, and we don't know why bad people exist, and we don't know why bad things happen to people. That's a mystery we can never solve. It is what it is. So why people say things they say, we don't know. You can't change another person. So the only thing you can do is recognize your true worth. So that person says something about you. Is it really true? Or you can't. How many times? Yes, I can. Because if this person that came from the same womb as me can do it, what's different about me? Why can't I do it? You know, of course I can do it, unless I don't want to do it, then that's fine. So again, you said no solution. I believe the solution, like you said, is the embodiment. Stop focusing on what other people are doing. You know, stop, because that's like, there's a saying, whatever anybody thinks about me, it's none of my business. It isn't. It's not your business. Your business is you. So focus on your inner self, and then you'll be able to collaborate with people, and people you can't collaborate with, you'll be able to step out, or you'll fall apart, which is fine too, because we're all on a different journey.
So true. And again, you're bringing a really wide perspective into this. Thank you, Abby. It's great. I think you're right. I balked at the word solution, because I don't know if it's a problem that we are trying to solve. It's just a way of being, really. That we've just gone in the wrong direction, because we've put all our eggs in this basket. And as you say, if we come into the body knows the truth. And that question in Enza is really important, to ask each member to ask themselves, is this the truth? You know, many people in such groups, in discussion groups or something, they're performing. And I see it all the time. They're performing. They are not embodied. They are repeating, they're iterating, they're using scripts, they're using notions that they've heard around them. They're not really being original at all, because they think it's unsafe to be themselves, you know. And once you bring them into their heart energy, then, they will speak so differently about similar topics because they're being themselves and they're not afraid to be themselves. This is a very important point, I think. And we've got a comment. Oh, lovely, 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 lovely. Oh, yes, here we are. Got 2 comments. DHE is here and King is here too. Hi, King. Welcome. Good to see you. Thank you, both of you. That's great. So, Ebby, this has been great. I think we've covered a lot of ground. We've looked at ENZA and how it can help people to discuss in a constructive, heartfelt way. We've also talked about collaboration and competition. Both are important, but it's probably doubtful that competition is necessary in a collaborative discussion. Of course, if we're working on something palpable, something physical, then it may be appropriate to say, oh, I think this goes here, or I think that, to make some kind of adjustment that will make the outcome better. But again, it's a shared outcome. And we've also talked about the idea that if we are constantly interrupting or we are beating ourselves up about various things, we're not being self-compassionate. And I think that one of the most important things going forward for our race, because I'm seeing that a lot too, that people just leave themselves because they've disappointed themselves, maybe, or they've, as you mentioned, they've been proved wrong or something like that. So they leave themselves instead of having the courage to say, oh, wow, I really appreciate that. Yes, I really agree with you there. I've been on a different level or something like that, but they just quit. They say, okay, it didn't work, so I'm going to quit. And they quit on themselves. So self-compassion is really important. And of course, we mentioned that. And so, yeah, any final comments on ENZA would be lovely for our audience, for our LinkedIn audience and our YouTube audience. Any final takeaway would be for them?
Okay, so for me, the ENZA has been a really eye-opener. And I think the fact that, so the 2 main things I take away from ENZA is the embodiment, the feeling safe, so you feeling safe, and also through you feeling safe, other people around you will feel safe. Not necessarily, because again, it's not, you have no control of the other person, but I think nature will just take its course. You'd either fall apart, but when you're working with people, you do want to be collaborative, but you also have to understand what's going on inside you, because you might think you're being collaborative, but are you being collaborative? Without listening to your body and without being embodied, you're not sure. Everybody's just keeping quiet. They might keep keeping quiet because you're a strong character, not because you're collaborating. So you think you're collaborating, but so the way to know that you're collaborating is to be embodied. To be able to go in, to take those deep breaths, not to interrupt, to listen, and to be able to think that maybe I'll change my perspective. Maybe I'm not actually right, so be flexible. And I think a lot of times we just kind of think we're right, and we might think we're right because we think we have more knowledge, but who are you comparing your knowledge to? Because you don't know what the other person's knowledge is really. So really, doesn't mind. So I think I'm really going to take on this ENZA and really study it. And I think if the audience can look at ENZA, because it's something that we need in society. And if we want to change, like they say, if you want to change the world, again, another Michael Jackson's lyrics, and I'm paraphrasing here, If you want to change the world, take a look in the mirror, because
Yep,
you can
we've
only
mentioned
change
that
the
many
world.
times.
Yeah,
Yes.
you can only,
Yeah.
so if the mirror is reflecting something negative, you're not going to be able to change the world, not by your words. So you take, and I think there might be a Buddhist saying, maybe Lao Tzu or somebody, who says about, in order to change the world, I'm paraphrasing again, in order to change the world, you need to change you. So no, not to change you, but if you what you want to see in the, you need to become what you want to see in the world. So you can't want the world to be great, but you're there being competitive, living in your head. If you want the world to change, it starts with you. And so those are my takeaways.
That's a great note to finish on. And I'd like to just add also the point you made about, well, it wasn't directly about remembering what people have said. Okay. Now, at the moment, there's a culture of people are writing notes all the time. They've got note takers everywhere, appearing on Zoom and all this stuff. But basically, if you are speaking from the heart, people will remember your words.
True.
Promise you. And I've had many experiences in my life where this has been true, and it's been remarkable how much change that one point that they remember in their body, because the body remembers everything if you're embodied, has changed their lives quite often. They've really taken it really into their container, and they've been able to make incredible changes. So I don't think we need to worry about the things we say if we're speaking from the heart, if we're really speaking our truth from an embodied position. People will change around us. They will be inspired. They will be lifted because they remember, the body remembers. Limited mind is limited, so it only remembers certain things. And even if you write a load of notes while you're listening, that's a problem, because you're not really listening. You're not really absorbing. But also, when you look back at the notes a couple of hours later, what does it mean? What does it all mean, But if you are listening to someone speak from the heart, later, all these things rise like bubbles on the surface of a pool, they come from the heart. And that's the truth. Yeah. Great. It's such a positive start. And I hope next week we can continue with this format. Haven't got a topic for next week, but if you have any ideas, let me know, and we'll explore that and hopefully have a really good Enza conversation. Ebishila, thanks so much. And so sorry about Muhiba, but impossible today, but hopefully we'll see her next week. And I'll see you very soon. Okay. Thank you so much.
Bye.
Bye. Bye. Oh, that was great discussion. It was a very good example of Enza, actually, because we were very calm. We enjoyed all these lovely notions and our perspectives and so on. We exchanged. You can see the difference there compared with the last 2 weeks. We've exchanged ideas. We've spoken from the heart. And those words will remain with us. And they'll become manifest when we need them most. So, yeah, it's really important to speak about the heart and from the heart. And remember that we are originally compassionate beings, so compassionate. We're put here on the earth to love each other. That's our purpose as supreme beings with communication skills unknown by any other species. We are here to love each other And compassion is the way forward. But remember that compassion starts with self-compassion. So next time you want to run out on yourself because either your pride is hurt or you're afraid of criticism or whatever, stay with yourself and be open. Say, oh, yeah, I've been under this delusion for a while. I'm so relieved to get this straight in my own mind. Just have the courage to admit you've changed. Flexibility, that's our passport to happiness, really, being flexible and not getting attached with white knuckles. So yeah, please see if you can remember all of this. Enza, E is for embody, N is for notice, Z is for zero, the need to win, and A is for align and act. Okay, so I think going forward, my action today is to go and write about this. And it's a great topic to get people involved in and see if we can, leave behind more evidence about this amazing phenomenon of Enza. Okay, so thanks for coming today, if you've attended, and of course, if you've registered and you couldn't attend, don't worry, because we'll send you the link for the LinkedIn Live and also the YouTube Live too, so you can go and watch it at your leisure. Thanks so much. And we'll be back again next week, same time, same place, with Embodiment Q&A. And I feel today we really did talk about embodiment, which is the crux of this whole project. Thanks so much. See you next week. Bye for now.